The 1980s. Oh, what a time to be alive, right? The era was a cornucopia of big hair, cassette tapes, and iconic films that transformed Hollywood in ways we're still seeing today. And let's not forget the actresses who became the faces and talents of that transformation. Let's start with the inimitable Molly Ringwald. Her performances in John Hughes's classics like 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, and Pretty in Pink established her as the quintessential 80s teen queen. Audiences saw her navigate the complexities of adolescence with brilliance, and she did it with such earnestness that even my friend's grandma loved her. Now, shift gears to Sigourney Weaver, the sci-fi heroine of the decade. Aliens wasn't just a successful sequel, it was a cultural reset. Weaver's Ripley became the archetype for strong female protagonists. She was tough, intelligent, and resourceful. It was a story about fighting aliens, sure, but it was also about fighting the stereotypes of what women could be in film. If drama was your poison, then Glenn Close was your go-to. I mean, Fatal Attraction, anyone? Her role as Alex Forrest was so chilling that it basically invented the bunny boiler trope. To this day, the cultural impact of that film, and Close's compelling performance, has men in bars buying drinks nervously, half expecting to look up and see Glenn Close staring at them from across the room. We can't overlook the sultry siren of the big screen, Jessica Lange. Her illustrious career hit strides through the 80s with movies like Tootsie and Frances. She was a chameleon of sorts, showcasing range from humor to psychological drama. And while most kids my age couldn't even spell method acting, Lange could teach a masterclass on it. And you know who else had everyone's attention? Michelle Pfeiffer. Catwoman may have defined her 90s career, but the 80s set the stage with Scarface and The Fabulous Baker Boys. Pfeiffer had this coolness to her, a kind that made you nod your head and say, yeah, she's got it. Plus, that piano scene, iconic, right? Let's throw a heroine of the action genre into the mix, Linda Hamilton. The Terminator brought her to the game, and she made sure we would never forget her face-off against Arnold's relentless cyborg. She embodied physical strength that went hand in hand with emotional power, which was a kind of 1-2 punch you didn't see much back then. And hey, I live in Portland, Oregon. When I'm not dodging rain or sipping some overpriced coffee, I sometimes catch reruns of Cheers. Why? Because of Shelley Long, whose turn as the intellectual and optimistic Diane Chambers was the highlight. She made it okay to be a smart, talkative woman in a sitcom setting, a novelty at the time. What binds these actresses is how they all crafted spaces where women could not just be seen, but resonate deeply with a wide array of audiences. They set precedents and broke the molds, making the 80s not just about campy fun, but also about powerful narratives and performances. Each of these actresses carried a spark, one that kept the neon lights of the 80s burning bright in cinema. They didn't just play parts, they shaped them, owned them, and gave us stories and characters that have stood the test of time. And that, my friends, is what icons are made of.